Hello all. Today let us talk about an important process in the anoxic ecosystem, that is sulfate reduction. Now before we get into the sulfate reduction process, let me just remind you of the different terminologies that I had shared with you in my previous class as well. So oxidation is the loss of electrons, whereas reduction is the gain of electrons. That means when I tell you that sulfate is undergoing reduction, it means it is gaining electrons or accepting electrons. That means it is acting as an electron acceptor. And when we have an inorganic compound acting as the electron acceptor, that type of a process is also called as anaerobic respiration. We also have aerobic respiration, wherein oxygen will be acting as the terminal electron acceptor. Now, if the electrons have to be accepted by a molecule, electrons have to be donated by another molecule. That electron donor can be an inorganic compound. In that case, we call the organisms as lithotrophs. And if the electron donor is an organic compound, then we call that organism as an organotroph. Apart from that, we also have the energy source and the carbon source, which is dividing the organisms into different types, different nutritional types. So moving on to the sulfur oxidation or sulfate reduction. Now there are different oxidation states of sulfur as an element, and all of these are very stable in the environment. So some of the common oxidation states of sulfur which can be seen are sulfide, which has an oxidation number of -2, and the formula is S2 minus, or it is denoted as S2 minus. Then we have elemental sulfur, which has an oxidation number of 0 and it is denoted as S naught. Thiosulfate, that is S2O3 2 minus, which is having an oxidation number of +2. Then we have sulfite, which is SO3 2 minus, which has an oxidation number of +4. And finally, we have sulfate, which is SO4 2 minus, that has an oxidation number of +6. So this sulfate is the molecule that is very stable and which is very usable. It is the most usable form that can be taken up by the plants or microorganisms from the soil. So sulfate is the form that is the most oxidized. That is why this is the form that very easily undergoes reduction. Now when we say there is sulfate reduction, there are two types. We can either have dissimilatory sulfate reduction or assimilatory sulfate reduction. Dissimilatory sulfate reduction is wherein the sulfate is being reduced to sulfide S2 minus. Now you should be knowing the terminologies very well. So S2 minus is sulfide, sulfite is SO3 2 minus. So dissimilatory sulfate reduction is wherein the sulfate, that is SO4 2 minus, is getting reduced to sulfide. Now here the organism is using this sulfate as a terminal electron acceptor, which means this is an example of anaerobic respiration. So dissimilatory sulfate reduction is an example of anaerobic respiration using sulfate as the terminal electron acceptor. So here sulfate will accept the electrons and get converted into or get reduced to form sulfide. In case of assimilatory sulfate reduction, again we have sulfate which is accepting the electrons, and it does accept the electrons and get reduced to sulfite. But the difference is here it does not stop with the sulfite. The sulfite gets incorporated into or assimilated into the amino acids of that particular organism in the form of thiol group. So we have amino acids like cysteine which have sulfur in them, and this sulfur which has been taken from the sulfate is being incorporated into that amino acid. So the basic difference between dissimilatory and assimilatory is that in assimilatory sulfate reduction, now assimilatory can be for any compound. In case of sulfate, assimilatory sulfate reduction means the organism uses the sulfate present in the environment and assimilates it or incorporates it into its own structure or its own body. That means it is taking up the sulfate for forming a particular amino acid or forming a particular protein. Dissimilatory is where the organism does not need the sulfur for its growth. It is not utilizing the sulfur as a component. It does not need sulfur to form the amino acid, or it does not use the sulfur there in that case to form a protein. Instead, it uses the sulfur or the sulfate compound to form energy, to have an electron flow. So we have an electron donor, it donates the electrons, and this is taken up by the sulfate in the form of an electron flow. So Dissimilatory is the type of reduction that you studied even for iron and manganese, wherein if you remember, the organism wasn't utilizing those compounds. It wasn't incorporating it or assimilating it into its own structure. It was just using it as a terminal electron acceptor. Same goes for sulfate. So in both the types, we know that sulfate is getting reduced, and in both the types, sulfate is getting reduced in a series of stages. In dissimilatory, it is reduced to sulfide. In assimilatory, it is reduced to sulfite, but the stages are many. So we will study in detail about dissimilatory and assimilatory sulfate reduction. Now the first one is dissimilatory sulfate reduction. In this case, like I told you, the organism is not using sulfate for any compound. It is only going to use it as an electron acceptor. So the electron acceptor is sulfate, like I just told, but the electron donor could be either hydrogen or it could be an organic compound. If the electron donor is hydrogen, then that particular organism is a lithotroph. It's a chemolithotroph. Chemo because it is deriving its energy through this electron flow, and lithotroph because that inorganic compound, that hydrogen, is the electron source. So the electron donor, if it is hydrogen, then that particular organism is a chemolithotroph, and it is utilizing hydrogen to donate the electrons which are being accepted by the sulfate. In case of the organic compound, there can be a host of organic compounds. It can be a carbohydrate like glucose. Some of the organisms utilize that. Some use organic acids like citric acid, lactic acid. Most of them use lactic acid or pyruvic acid or pyruvate. Some of them are even able to use fatty acids. Some use malic acid or malate. So there are a host of organic compounds that can be utilized. But the end product, if the organism uses the electron donor as an organic compound, then in that case, the end product is always either acetate or carbon dioxide. So it comes and stops at acetate or carbon dioxide. So the organic compound donates the electrons. In the process, gets converted to either acetate or carbon dioxide. The electrons that are donated by this electron donor travel through a series of electron carriers and are finally accepted by sulfate. In this flow of electrons, the cell is deriving the energy. That is why I told you these can be either chemolithotrophs or chemoorganotrophs, because energy is derived by the flow of electrons, and litho and organo stands for the two types of electron source. Now, this entire flow wherein the sulfate is taking up the electrons donated by either hydrogen or an organic compound is what is going to be shown here. So sulfate has to finally get converted, or it has to finally get reduced to sulfide. I already told you. So in this process, we have several intermediate stages. The first step is where the sulfate gets reduced to form APS. And the enzyme involved over here is ATP sulfurylase. Now this ATP sulfurylase uses a molecule of ATP and takes in the adenosine part of the ATP. So ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It takes up the adenosine part of the ATP and incorporates it with the sulfate. In the process, it releases pyrophosphate. That is what has been labeled here as PPI. That is pyrophosphate, or two inorganic phosphate molecules. So PPI or pyrophosphate will finally give rise to two inorganic phosphates. That is what is written as PI. Now this APS, so sulfate is getting reduced to APS. APS is a very important intermediate. APS stands for adenosine 5' phosphosulfate. This adenosine 5' phosphosulfate is further acted upon or reduced to form sulfite. So now it is SULPHITE, sulfite, by the enzyme APS reductase. This enzyme will utilize two more electrons to convert into sulfite, and in the process we have release of adenosine monophosphate or AMP. Sulfite is then converted to thiosulfate. Thiosulfate is then converted to sulfide, SULPHIDE. That is the final or the end product. So we have sulfite getting converted into thiosulfate and then finally into sulfide. This entire process, these two steps are catalyzed by sulfite reductase enzyme, and in this process we have 6 more electrons being taken up. So we have reduction or conversion of sulfate into sulfide. this sulfide is labeled or it is shown as S2 minus. Usually it is hydrogen sulfide or H2S. In some cases it can be a metal sulfide as well. So we have conversion or reduction of sulfate to sulfide. So if you see over here, the organism is releasing the sulfide. It is not utilizing it. It is not assimilating it. It is not incorporating it into its own structure. That is why this type of reduction is called as dissimilatory sulfate reduction. And here the terminal enzyme, that is sulfite reductase, is also labeled as dissimilatory sulfite reductase because it is going to convert sulfite into sulfide, which is the end product. Here the sulfide combines with some other product and is released either as hydrogen sulfide or in the form of a metal sulfide. Now the organisms that carry this out are belonging to several genera like D-sulfovibrio, or this diagram shows D-sulfovibrio, or we have D-sulfobacter, D-sulfatomaculum, D-sulfomonas, D-sulfosarcina, D-sulfococcus, D-sulfobulbus. So if you see here, the first diagram is D-sulfococcus. Moving clockwise, it is D-sulfovibrio. Downwards, you have D-sulfobulbus, and this diagram is of D-sulfobacter. So these are organisms which are usually gram negative, and they are converting, or they are capable of dissimilatory sulfate reduction. These organisms usually occur in marine sediments or in the sewage sludge because they are all strict anaerobes. If you remember, in my first class, I had shown you the zonation of water body or in the sediments. So I had told you that methanogens or organisms that generate methane are found at the lowest zone, or they are obligate anaerobes. They cannot survive even in a little bit of oxygen. Same holds true for these organisms as well. These are dissimilatory sulfate reducers. In the case of these organisms also, they cannot survive in the presence of oxygen. They are strict anaerobes. So these two zones, that is sulfate reduction and methane production, are the obligate anaerobic zones because these organisms are obligate anaerobes. So whatever I have listed out here are organisms that are dissimilatory sulfate reducers, which means they utilize the sulfate, they reduce the sulfate, but they utilize it only as a terminal electron acceptor. Once they take the electrons from an electron source like hydrogen or an organic compound, they give it to sulfate, and in the process, as the electron is flowing, they derive energy from it. That is the reason they use sulfate as a terminal electron acceptor. So here, dissimilatory sulfate reduction can also be called as anaerobic respiration or sulfate respiration because here sulfate is the terminal electron acceptor. Moving on to the second type of reduction, sulfate reduction, that is assimilatory sulfate reduction. So in case of assimilatory sulfate reduction, like you can see here, it is carried out by most bacteria, yeasts and plants. All plants are able to assimilate the sulfate. This is the form of sulfate that they absorb from the soil. So whenever there is sulfate present in the soil, this is the process. Assimilatory sulfate reduction is the process by which they assimilate or incorporate the sulfate into their own bodies or into their own parts. So assimilatory sulfate reduction is again starting with sulfates. So we have sulfate over here, which is going to act as the terminal electron acceptor. The sulfate is now going to form APS. That first step is common. So sulfate is acted upon by ATP sulfurylase. Sulfate, which is present in the environment, is taken up by the organism and it is acted upon by the enzyme ATP sulfurylase to form APS. APS, let me remind you, it stands for adenosine 5' phosphosulfate. Adenosine 5' phosphosulfate. Again here we have an ATP being taken up and the adenosine part of the ATP is combined with the sulfate and pyrophosphate is being released. When the pyrophosphate is being released, it finally forms two inorganic phosphate molecules. This APS combines, or APS is reduced to PAPS. PAPS stands for 3' phosphoadenosine 5' phosphosulfate. So APS was adenosine 5' phosphosulfate. Now what we have done is we have phosphorylated the adenosine, or we have added a phosphate group over there. So in the second step, we have addition of phosphate group to APS, because of which APS is converted into PAPS. PAPS stands for 3' phosphoadenosine 5' phosphosulfate. Now, whenever we have transfer of a phosphate group, the enzyme that is involved over there is called as a kinase. So here the substrate was APS, hence the enzyme is called as APS kinase, because APS kinase has taken a phosphate from ATP and it has incorporated into APS. When it incorporated into APS, it formed PAPS and released out AMP and one molecule of inorganic phosphate. So here we have APS being converted into PAPS. PAPS is then converted into sulfite, SULPHITE. This is carried out by the enzyme PAPS reductase. So PAPS, that is 3' phosphoadenosine 5' phosphosulfate, is acted upon by the enzyme PAPS reductase to form sulfite. Now in this process we have conversion of thioredoxin from, these are small redox proteins which are found in the organism. So it is found in all the organisms. So this thioredoxin is converted from the reduced form to the oxidized form, whereas our PAPS is being converted from its oxidized form into a reduced form, that is called as sulfite. I'll repeat this step once again. PAPS reductase acts upon PAPS and gets converted into sulfite. In this process, we have thioredoxin, which is getting converted from its reduced form to its oxidized form. In the same process, PAPS is getting reduced to sulfite. So we have now converted from sulfate to sulfite. Now sulfite is acted upon by sulfite reductase. Now this type of sulfite reductase is called as assimilatory sulfite reductase. So we have sulfite being acted upon by sulfite reductase to give sulfide, SULPHIDE, sulfide. In this process, we have NADPH being oxidized to form NADP+. Now this sulfide combines with O-acetylserine. Now where does this O-acetylserine come from? So O-acetylserine is coming from serine. So serine is, which is already present in the cell, is going to be acted upon by the enzyme serine acetyl transferase to form O-acetylserine. And in this process, acetyl-CoA is going to be taken up, from which CoA is released and acetyl group is being transferred to serine. So serine takes up the acetyl group to form O-acetylserine. This O-acetylserine is then adding, or it is combining with sulfide, which is taken up by the organism and reduced. So the sulfide combines with the O-acetylserine in the presence of the enzyme O-acetylserine thiol lyase to form cysteine. Cysteine is the amino acid that contains the sulfur. So in this process, if you see, the sulfate which was present outside, extracellular sulfate which was present in the environment, was first made intracellular, converted into APS, PAPS, sulfite, sulfide, and finally combined with serine, a form of serine called as O-acetylserine, to form cysteine. So here sulfate, which was extracellular, has been incorporated. It has been converted into an amino acid inside the organism. That amino acid is cysteine. That is why this type of reduction is called as assimilatory sulfate reduction. Here, the organism's aim was not to produce energy. The organism's aim was to produce a compound that contains sulfur. So how did it do it? It took sulfate from the environment and converted into form that is readily usable and formed cysteine inside its own body. So this is assimilatory sulfate reduction, which I told you is shown by all the plants and by most of the bacteria and yeast forms. So these organisms can prepare they can assimilate their own sulfate from the soil or from the water or environment that they are living using this assimilatory sulfate reduction pathway. In the dissimilatory sulfate reduction pathway, there is only one major component, that is APS, whereas in the assimilatory sulfate reduction pathway, the important component that we have is PAPS, or 3-phosphoadenosine 5-phosphosulfate. Now, the significance of this sulfate reduction in our environment is that sulfate is a compound that is very common in marine water systems or in the sea water, and it is also found in the sediments of water bodies, aquatic as well as marine. It is found in any water body that is very rich in the decaying organic matter. It is found in hydrothermal vents, in acid mine, drainage sites, Even in oil fields, we find a lot of sulfate. And in all of these environments, we find the sulfate reducing bacteria. They are very important in such anaerobic environments because they form a major role, or they are the ones that fight with or compete with the methanogens for hydrogen as an electron donor. So they are always important in the anaerobic environment. Also, for the sulfur cycling, for the sulfur cycle to get completed in the environment, these organisms play a significant role because you need to have sulfur getting moving out from the form of sulfate in the environment, that is carried out by these dissimilatory sulfate reducing bacteria and by the form of assimilatory sulfate reduction. Also, we can get a rotten egg odor when we go near salt marshes or near sewage sludge areas. That is because of hydrogen sulfide that is being released after at the end of the sulfate reduction. So if you see in dissimilatory sulfate reduction, the end product is sulfide, and usually it is released in the form of hydrogen sulfide, which is giving that rotten egg odor. If metal is present in that particular area, it can form metal sulfides. And these metal sulfides, the most common one is ferrous sulfide, which gives a very dark colored sludge. That dark color is because of iron sulfide or ferrous sulfide, wherein the sulfide that is released at the end of dissimilatory sulfate reduction combines with an iron or ferrous molecule to form ferrous sulfide. So these are some of the significances of sulfate reduction in the environment. What you need to remember here is what are the different types of sulfate reduction. So we have dissimilatory and assimilatory. What is the meaning of each of these reduction pathways? What are the different types of organisms that follow these pathways? You need to write about the pathway in general. So what is the substrate? What is the end product? What are the important intermediates that are formed in between? And what is the purpose of this? So dissimilatory is being used by the organism for deriving energy, because here electron donor is there, electron acceptor is our sulfate. In the flow of electrons, we get energy. Whereas assimilatory's significance is the organism wants to produce some particular sulfur compound. So it goes for assimilation of sulfate from the environment, or conversion of the sulfate from the environment into its own product. So you will be mentioning about the two types of pathways. What are the different organisms that follow it? What is the significance? What is the pathway in as such? And the general significance of sulfate reduction in the environment. This is about sulfate reduction, dissimilatory and assimilatory type. Thank you.